Hi, this is Jim of Shiloh Hall. Have you ever wondered about Luke 16:9 in this parable of the shrewd manager? Never has made sense to me because basically, you've got a gentleman here who's getting ready to be fired by his master, who then comes up with this idea that he's going to call all his people together and say, "Hey, how much do you owe the master?" "Well, you owe this amount." "Well, good, write this amount," which is a reduced amount, and then and so ultimately he's working toward favor of those who had owed the master. So then the master praises him as a shrewd manager. Let me see if I can find that here. I'm in the New International Version here, and I'll just pick it up here in verse 7. He told him, "Take your bill and make it 800." So the master commended the dishonest manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, and then this is what this video is all about, because here's verse 9. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. If you're like me, you've seen this your whole life and just not known what to do with it. What would these friends have anything to do with eternal dwellings? How does this make any sense? And when you go back to all of the versions, they're all the same. It's pretty much, here's the NIV that we just read. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself so that you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. And in the New Living Translation, here's the lessons. Use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. Then when your possessions are gone, they will welcome you into an eternal home. English Standard Version. And I tell you, make friends for yourselves by means of unrighteous wealth, so that when it fails, they may receive you into the eternal dwellings. Well, I've gone through all of these, and they're all pretty much, I didn't find any that did not say exactly that. And when I went to the Greek, it's pretty much saying something similar. And I to you say, for yourselves make friends by the wealth of unrighteousness, that when it fails, they might receive you into the eternal dwellings. Well, this wouldn't be the first time that I have questioned what the Strongs would lead us, and that the translations would lead us into. But let me show you what I bumped into here just recently, yesterday, and I think it's noteworthy, and I just want to offer it to you because it's pretty much the same. I'm going to start in verse 6, and this is the Yah Scriptures. Let me make them a little bigger for you too. It's the Yah Scriptures, and I'll just start verse 5. And calling every one of his master's debtors to him, he said to the first, "How much do you owe my master?" And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, "Take your account and sit down quickly and write 50. Then to another he said, "And how much do you owe?" And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, "Take your account and write 80. And the master praised the unrighteous manager because he had acted shrewdly, because the sons of this age are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. So all of that matches. But here is what Messiah says then, how he follows up with that. And it's in contrast to what we just saw in all of the other translations. So after the master praises the unrighteous manager, here's what Messiah says. And would I say to you, make friends for yourselves by unrighteous wealth, that when you fail, they shall receive you into everlasting dwellings? Well, when you see it this way, it changes the whole reflection, because he follows it up with, he who is trustworthy in what is least is trustworthy also in much. And he who is unrighteous in what is least is unrighteous also in much. If, therefore, you have not been trustworthy in the unrighteous wealth, who shall entrust to you the true? And if you have not been trustworthy in what is another man's, who shall give you what is your own? And then he goes on to say, no servant's able to serve two masters, for either he shall hate the one and love the other, or else he shall cling to one and despise the other. You are not able to serve Elohim and wealth. So I'm going to go back up to verse 9 again, and let me also just go to, I want to go back to the NIV. I tell you, after saying, the master praises him, this is what the NIV says that the master, or I'm sorry, Messiah is saying to his Talmidim or his disciples. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourself, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Well, I don't know how that makes sense. New Living Translation. Here's the lesson. Use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. Then, when your possessions are gone, they will welcome you into an eternal home. It doesn't make any sense. But this Yah translation sure does. Because basically, after saying, and the master praised the unrighteous manager because he had acted shrewdly, because the sons of this age are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. And then the master says, or Messiah says, and what I say to you, make friends for yourselves by unrighteous wealth, that when you fail, they shall receive you into everlasting dwellings. Well, I'm going to say no, because that's not the way of Messiah. It's not the way of Elohim. He does not tell us to go and be shrewd and make friends with the world so that they can offer us an eternal dwelling. They have no eternal or everlasting dwelling to offer us. We don't need to go making friends with them. What we should be more interested in is making friends with Elohim, who does have an everlasting or eternal dwelling to offer us. And that sure seems to be how, when they've translated this just makes everything make more sense, because following that, when he says, again, I'll just say it again, he's basically saying, would I tell you to go make friends with the world so that they, when all your stuff runs out, that they can welcome you into everlasting dwellings? Well, no, he wouldn't, because they have none to offer. And then he goes on to say, I say to you, if you're trustworthy in the little, you're going to be trustworthy in a lot. How can you be entrusted with somebody else's stuff? I mean, if you can't even be trusted with somebody else's stuff, how can you be trusted with really anything? I mean, these are the principles. If you're trustworthy, you're trustworthy, and you do what's right, and Elohim will welcome you into everlasting dwellings. Anyway, I found this very interesting, and where I have struggled with that passage my whole life, wondering what in the world could it possibly mean with this translation. And I'd be really curious to see where they went to get this translation and how they translated it, what they translated it from to get this rendering. But I sure like the rendering. It makes this all make sense when it never has. Thank you, and may you be Baruch.